Alejandro, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I would like to know how you introduce the Excel input data to your IPA.
Okay. Well, as that's a good question. I didn't we didn't agree on this question in advance, but I have it actually. So there are multiple ways to load it. Let's say you can have your API, but instead of getting data, you can post data into the API. So I can get the data from your Excel. This is what I was doing, and I can push the data into the server by myself. The other thing that I can do, let's say you gave me only one. If you give me only one, I can come here and just load that one on the front end, as you would do with any other application. But if you give me 20 scenarios, I probably would use the API to load the 20 scenarios in one go.
Okay.
Yeah, does that answer the question?
Yes.
I think there are some comments that I didn't see. In your condensate column is not, if we include some numbers in it, condensate price, will it change the economic results? Well, if you don't have a product and you have a price for condensate, it just wouldn't affect your results. But in the product, I think that is some assumption that you could do after you run your profiles. You can assume how much is the condensate output of your facilities, and then based on the oil profile, you can have an oil output of your facilities. That doesn't necessarily have to be something that is coming out of your reservoir engineering workflow. In the concept, you answered that question. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think it's because it is. Yeah, I think it's part of the same question before, and also it depends on how you're going to build this. Sometimes you can introduce a GOR in the calculation, but sometimes it's just better as the way the model is built now to add the condensate production in the condensate column.
So I think Johannes is saying that his question is about whether what is the impact? How much will be the impact of the condensate? I think it depends on what's the type of reservoir. But if this is probably going to be a small fraction if it's an oil producer. If it's a gas condensate for producer, you probably rely mostly on the condensate, and then hence you have to estimate more accurately the condensate production. But in some of the North Sea fields, where you can apply a factor to the oil production to estimate how much condensate you're going to produce, and then you have a shrinkage of the oil and so on. This is something that you probably wouldn't do in the simulation model. Thank you, Ogolo. That's a very nice feedback from Ogolo from Nigeria. And we have a group in Slack, and we have also a YouTube channel, and that's where we usually. So there are a few things that we do. We have a YouTube in Orca Hub, which is where we share all these recorded sessions. And so these most of the sessions are I think all those sessions are there. I have to upload actually quite 5 sessions or 5 videos from the past few sessions. And we also have a GitHub, and this is where we share the exercises. So in GitHub we have a couple of libraries that we maintain. We have a PEG exercises where we have some of the exercises that we have done in the past. And as soon as I finish with this one, I'm cleaning some data from the past, I will upload this exercise into the GitHub repository. But if you go into the GitHub repository, you can see all the past exercises, and then you can see pretty much all the exercises are public domain and they are published there. Yeah, thank you, Kunda. So thanks for the comment on the gas condensate. Any more comments, questions? And I know that pushing a lot of this into Python, it's oh, thanks. Yeah, thanks, Kundu. That's very, I learned quite a few bits from Esther as well on the discussion of the oil trading. And I must confess that the image of this image here, when I took the price data from the API, I think that it's something that is completely feasible to do, but it's exactly the example on how it works. You bring data from external sources through APIs, and it works exactly like I mentioned. It's through endpoints. And I hope also a bit of how this is not meant to be a training on APIs, but it's just an idea of how things are working on the background. And actually, you can get access to those resources. I think more easily or easier than you may think.
Yeah, I found that to integrate those elements give a powerful tool because you can have things that are trading at the moment and you need information on the spot. So I think it's a very well integrated product, and again, one of the things that bringing from the economic point of view is that sometimes Excel is not enough to cope with all that information.
Yes, exactly. And my experience as well in the past is that these cycles of running these models and providing profile, getting back the economics, and it could be a very slow process especially if you're evaluating complex scenarios. And between the time that you get the cost in the right format and you provide a production, usually you agree on what is the format that you're going to provide the production data on, but you're providing a bunch of Excels, and I guess that every company would have a different workflow, but really when you start to work with Excel and Excel is your workhorse, is these processes get very, very slow because you're talking about multiple stakeholders providing you with information. Yeah, Maria, that's very important, the data sharing. And at some point I was going to talk, there are 3 levels I see. One thing is Excel, the other level is the SQL database, because you can have all this stuff in the SQL database. And then you have the API. The API gives you the security and permission that you need in order to access the data that you have permission to access. While if you have access directly to SQL database, all this would be very fast as well, but then you have issues with the permissions, and you can inject data accidentally, or someone will with bad intentions could inject data into a SQL database. But while providing a web service through an interface with user authentication or permission, you have access to only what you need and only what you have permission to do. Okay, and we are not going to send the information through personal emails. We relied on the resources that are there, as I mentioned, YouTube, GitHub, and the presentation will be available in those resources. Well, thanks everyone. I'm just going to stop recording, and I'm going to be available here for 5 more minutes. I don't know if Esther wants to also stay. Really appreciate working with Esther for the past couple of weeks. I really enjoy it. Learned quite a few things, and we work very nicely, and we only have like 3 chats over Zoom to iterate, and the rest actually work quite smoothly. So yeah, thank you very much, Esther. I really appreciate your input and your experience in this process.
No, thank you, Alejandro, for the invitation. It was a great experience for me. So hopefully we can do some others in the future.